I have a question for you. What if you let go of fear completely? What if everything just changed for you? Maybe not overnight, but what if you carried yourself differently? What if new opportunities started coming to you, including your own personal spiritual journey or healing? What if there was a complete shift in who you are and what you attract into your life? What if this changed how you moved through the world completely? This is essentially what happened to me, and I'm coming on here to share my story to hopefully connect with others that have had the same thing, or maybe to help people that are just going through it or about to go through this process. If you've been feeling afraid, feeling stuck, or like feeling that you're playing small, keep watching this video. Maybe it'll be the most important video you've watched yet this year. I wanted to share my experience with fear first, and then I was going to kind of talk about how I changed that fear and came out the other side completely changed. So I've had spiritual experiences pretty much my whole life. As a teenager, I started having lucid dreaming experiences and some experiences with like entities and stuff like that. So one of them was a shadowy entity that used to hold me down in bed when I was a teenager, and I felt like I couldn't move. Eventually, I had to face that energy that was sitting on my chest. And I had to do it alone because there wasn't anybody else that could do it for me. I didn't have any kind of mentor or anything like that. And there wasn't nearly as many resources online at the time. So I just got so fed up with it, like fed up with being so afraid and fed up with something that was messing with me. So I eventually got the courage to push it off of me, and it took a lot of courage, trust me. But after this happening so many times, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. And I kind of opened my eyes a little bit, and I could see the shadowy figure sitting on my chest, and I just pushed it off, and it literally disappeared before my eyes, which was amazing. And that was sort of like the very beginning of my journey in conquering my fears, but it certainly was the epitome of what our will can do when we put our mind to something. I felt very powerful after having done that. I still had some psychic attacks and things like that while sleeping, but I didn't really know what it was for such a long time, and I actually wasn't able to even deal with that until I was in my 30s, probably. Not to date myself or anything, but anyways, the lucid dreaming, I had experiences with that too, and it was a little bit weird at first, I will have to say. So when I first started lucid dreaming, it was really intense. Like, I went flying and seeing dinosaurs. I looked into my pocket and looked at the coins to tell me like what date it was and everything. But then soon after, men in black started coming into my lucid dreams, and apparently some other people have had the same experience, and I think that they're there to get people that are awakening to stop lucid dreaming because, you know, something out there doesn't want us awake. But anyways, I didn't lucid dream for quite some time because it was really intimidating to come across that. So that's sort of like the beginning chapter of some of my really intense experiences. I've had a situation before where I moved to a new place in a new city for school, and everything seemed fine on the surface, but then my daughter started getting these night terrors, and it was getting like worse and worse. So I sensed that there was some energies or souls there sort of in the space. So I said to them that they needed to come to me and not to bug my daughter. I don't know why, I just had the intuition to do that. And so when I did, like, there was a time when my feet were being lifted up when I was trying to sleep, and I saw these spirits in my dreams. I saw like who they were in life, and they weren't good people. and they were causing problems around the house. So I luckily at the time was able to reach out to a psychic whose blog I was reading, and she had a lot of experiences with spirits and clearing, and I was able to get some pretty detailed instructions on how to handle the clearing myself, because we needed to be able to have a good night's sleep and not be tormented like this, because that was kind of bullshit, right? It was my home, and that's essentially what she taught me, is that it is my home and I have the right to tell them to leave and make them leave, because as human spirits we have divinity, we are connected to divinity, and our will is powerful. So like these energies, if you will, have to obey our will and our boundaries and stuff, and if they don't, then we just need to learn the ways to enforce them so that that does happen the way that it's supposed to. So anyways, I did end up doing a clearing, but since this was my first time and the energy was so intense, I brought a friend, and as we started doing the clearing, there was literal thumping on the ceiling above us, because we were doing this in the basement. It was like thump, 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 like it was super loud and really powerful. There was nobody else home, no pets or anything like that. That's just how intense the energy was. And this man who didn't want to cross over, probably because he didn't want to be punished, was just putting up a big stink. But it ended up being like probably between 80 and 100 spirits that got crossed over safely, and you know, they were able to finally be free from the realm where they were trapped for all this time. I suspect it was probably like the early 1920s that they'd been there. And the man that had caused all this, he eventually crossed over too, but he certainly didn't want to, and he put up a big fight. So yeah, like my point in bringing all that up is like just to sort of illustrate some of the more intense experiences that I've had and what led me to wanting or having the desire to face and conquer my own fears. So just in the last couple years, like probably 2 years ago, I made the decision, and this was a huge decision, and it led to essentially me being able to come into my true power and into my sovereignty. But the beginning of that journey was just simply deciding not to be controlled by fear anymore in my life. And that included when I went to bed and felt like the shadows were watching me. And this happened all through my life, like even as an adult. And people always like think whatever, there's nothing there and there's nothing to be afraid of. But if you're spiritual, you can feel these energies there, and it doesn't feel good. Especially like if, you know, like me, you've had spiritual attacks and stuff like that, you know that there's things that mess with you and you don't actually end up being hurt by it, but it really bothers you and it really scares you to feel so powerless and preyed upon. So when I'm talking about fear, I'm talking about fear spiritually, but also fear in the real world. Not real world, but fear in like the three-dimensional world or whatever that we experience. I'm talking about all the fear. I decided, okay, I'm not going to let it run me anymore. And I just like would lie there at night and just accept it. I'd feel it in my body, like this intense feeling of, oh my God, what is watching me right now? What's going to happen? And the more that I sat with it, the more liberated I became, because I know that nothing can actually hurt me. Nothing can do anything to me. It's just fear that's sort of our worst enemy. The fear that we experience when we encounter these entities is worse than the entity themselves. At least that's my experience of it. But yeah, so like I decided to get rid of all my fear, and I learned a lot more too about protection and everything. And that would be like a whole nother video. But needless to say, I would do my bubble and protect myself every night, but these things would sometimes still happen, more so when I'd forget to do my protection bubble. But the more that I sat there with my fear and just letting it exist, the more that it faded away and stopped controlling me. And it wasn't an overnight process, but I noticed a huge change right away, and I felt so much more confident in myself and free. And that's sort of what opened me up to a lot more experiences and healing and shadow work and just having things be able to move through me. The fear is essentially what created a knot and stopped everything from moving forward. And so once I started moving forward, I started also reflecting on the fear that we experience in everyday life on Earth here. Like, there's so much fear that gets pumped out through media, like TV, news, algorithms in social media. And the fear works in a way that I think keeps everybody stuck. And if they could just conquer their own fear and let go, then all those channels pumping out all that fear would essentially become ineffectual, and the whole world, I think, would completely change. Everybody's worldview would change. And I felt, for me, like when I let go of the fear, I was able to just live my life. Like, I don't care anymore about all that kind of messaging that's put out on Facebook, and I'm not following all the politics every moment of my life. Like, I'm still aware in general about what's going on, but I'm not like tuned into it on a daily basis. And like, for me, I've found that very, very liberating, because then you're actually able to connect with the earth. You're able to connect with your energy centers. You're able to connect with your energy field and your guides, and everything just like completely starts moving. But if we're in a fear-based mentality, it's changing our brain waves, it's changing our frequency, and it blocks all these other higher vibration experiences that we could be having. So that's sort of what I wanted to say about fear. I don't know if anybody has experienced anything like this, or if they're going through any sort of fear-based issues in their life that they think that are holding them back. I'd be happy to hear your experiences in the comments. I hope by sharing these videos that I can connect with others that might have had similar experiences, or help some people that are going through some of these things and need a little bit more support, or just to know that there's somebody else out in the world like them. I can't tell you how many times that I've had that feeling of feeling so alone, like that there's nobody out there having these experiences, and like I can't talk to anybody about it, and it can be super isolating. So that's a huge reason why I started this channel. And I'm also doing a clothing line called Harmonic Mind. So I'm kind of grouping them together, if you will, in my channels. So you'll see content like this, and content, that talks about my clothing, but all the clothing is very symbolic, and I'm kind of bringing forward symbols and meaning in the clothing itself that has been sort of directly related to my awakening journey, that I hope can help others. And I'm trying to essentially create a sanctuary for myself and maybe a small community of people that are going through similar things. If any part of my message today struck you at all, I'd really love to hear from you. And if you feel called, check out the link in my bio to see the Harmonic Mind store. That's everything for today. I hope you all enjoy the sun. I hope you have some nice sun, but not too hot. Okay, take